Come on up, children. Beauty and the Spirit is here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We are here.
Come on up, dolls. We're waiting. Yes. I'm heading straight to our comments. Yes, doll. Yes. Listen, I could go through that all day. You hear that, Woodson?
Mm-hmm.
I could beat that all day.
Yeah,
Yes.
classic house. We love it.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Welcome to Beauty and the Spirit with Tina Thompson and
Joseph. How's it going, Miss Tina?
I am doing fine. How's it going with you?
I'm doing very well. We've had a very eventful week, and we are here. And all I can say is thank you, and let's keep it together. Let's continue.
Absolutely. I'm waiting for more of our YouTubers. I have our Instagram on the side. We're not linking on to that yet, but I just wanted to say we're going to get this show started because today we're talking about the art of inclusion and acceptance. And that is what we really need to talk about. We have racial civil wars occurring. We have pandemics occurring. We have just a whole plethora of drama and emotion and racial stimulation in other areas. One thing has catapulted another thing because the healing of our nation is at a place where it is needed. Healing needs to occur. It's sort of as if you were injured or you were hurt, and no one wants to give you a band-aid. They just left you laying there, and you just in a symbolism, a metaphor of it is you're just laying there saying, "Somebody get me a bandage." And people just keep walking by like, "You look fine." Because you keep going to work, they want you to go to work with the scars. They want you to perform with the scars.
And not say anything.
It's so many things before we get into it because we have a group of fabulous guests today.
Yes, we do.
And we have a lot that's going on. They're coming up here now. I see the kids or children are around.
Welcome to Beauty and the Spirit.
Yes. So how was your week?
It was good. I try not to watch too much of the news because you have to be informed, but at the same time, you cannot allow that to dominate your day because there's so much going on. People are crying out for help, to be heard. I think that's what this is all about. People want to be heard. They want to be recognized. And beyond just being heard, they want to see change. And so I'm so glad we're talking about inclusion and acceptance because it's something that we all strive for as human beings in whatever profession you're in. And I think it's just something that we're at a point now where people have to be heard. There has to be a change made. And if that doesn't happen, people are going to continue to protest, until something is done. So I've had a good week. I have just been trying to take care and be thankful. We are here. We are blessed. We have the ability to use our voice, which is so important, and how you use your voice is so important at this particular time.
Yes, that voice is important, especially for an artist, especially for people who stand for not just for civil rights, for people of color, for people of change, just for people of creative content. We are people who we have to create, we have to express ourselves. And if you have that color as a barrier or that or that economic setback because you're from a certain place or a certain economic, level in life, then they won't let you go to a certain place. They won't allow you to express yourself, because I guess what people are feeling is that if you are of a certain economic class, or you of a certain race, that you don't have that much to offer, because there's not a plateau that you can bring their organization, or they just have some fears and they just have a lot of anxieties that are based around people of color. And I find that as a woman of color for a long time, in my life, I have walked into places and I know I have been qualified. I have been more than open to have dialogue. I have been more to have teamwork ethic. And what happens is they create walls where they just say, okay, I'm going to pull you in as this stereotype because this is what I'm expecting from you as a woman of color. And it happens. I just think that it's been repressed for so long, is that, what we learn to do, especially speaking from a woman of color or a minority's perspective, is that what happens, Mr. Woodson, is a lot of times I have thrown my feelings and my emotions under the rug, because I just was like, who's going to listen to me? Like, are they going to say I'm just another bitter Black woman, or what is she complaining about now? And I have fought so many battles by myself, Mr. Woodson, and you have been there with me through many battles.
I've seen with my
yes, you have, and it's like, as a woman of color, it's just enough. And a man, and just as a man of color, like what are you feeling right now?
I feel like with most of these organizations and the way the system is set up, there's like a glass ceiling for people of color. Of course, we come in, we bring our work, we bring our creativity, but when you see who is actually in the boardrooms, making the decisions, implementing the policies, they're not always people that look like you and I. And I think the real change needs to happen in those boardrooms, in those management positions. Those need to be more people of color, so that people like you and I feel that we have the opportunities to just be more than just one thing. We can continue on and continue to progress. But yes, I've experienced it. I've experienced it in spaces where I've been the only one. And, we've all been taught growing up, you do well, don't say too much, keep your opinions to yourself, don't rock the boat too much, because if you rock the boat too much, then you may get into trouble. And I think that is like a language that a lot of people of color have grown up with. Like, just don't rock the boat. You're in the room, just be thankful to have the opportunity, just be thankful just to be sitting there, and that's it. And I think now we're finally at a place where people feel the freedom and the courage to actually say that, no, this is not enough. We want equality, we want the same opportunities on all levels.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And not only do we want equality, we want the stages to progress. I think that's the difference now, is that we have called on equality, we have marched, we have sang, we have protested, we have done different types of projects to speak about diversity, but a lot of it is not occurring, because I'm going to bring up a topic as we allow our guests to come in to elaborate on. Not only is it other people prohibiting us, it is ourselves at times as well.
I agree with that as well.
So this is why I wanted to bring this platform, because I know there are people who feel just like me and you. I have been thinking this way a long time. And just because I'm a woman of color doesn't mean that I don't feel that we have work to do. And people will say, oh, well, one thing doesn't have to do with the other. Da, 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 da. I get all of that. I totally get it. But this is where I want to go today as well. The work that we have to do as a community with each other. As we go through these pains and these healings, we have to know how to treat each other as well. We have to learn how to support and acknowledge each other as well. And I put up something the other day, crabs in a barrel. We're going to do a full show on that. But that's really something in my mind and my soul. And you know that, Woodson, with the work in the studio with Skin and a lot of different projects that we do, the Josephine Baker, the Josephine's Cotton Review, a lot of our statement is how our people, and I mean our people, meaning all brown people, Black, brown, light tan, blue, all of it, red. You get what I'm saying? Yes. All of us saying, I'm this. No, I'm not that. No, I'm not this. And when we're in the workplace, we're not protecting each other. We're letting a lot of discrimination and a lot of bad things and injustices occur to people that are brown in color and minority. So speaking of that, Mr. Woodson, today we have a great guest, and I'm going to give him an introduction because he is someone that the dance community knows, and his name is Jeffrey Bynum. Yes, we welcome Jeffrey Bynum.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? How are you?
Yes, everybody. Welcome Bynum.
How are you? How are you? How are you?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Oh, good.
Welcome.
Yeah, I had to do my fan for Miss Tina.
Yes, honey. Before we get started, I'm going to give you a little background on Mr. Bynum. He was born in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Where he began training
at the Dome
and Haywood School of Ballet.
Yes.
And Ellington High for the Visual Art.
Yes.
Can I finish?
Yes.
After graduation, Jeffrey relocated to New York City. I do hear that echo, but it's okay. Jeffrey relocated to New York City to study at the Alvin Ailey School and the Dance Theater of Harlem. Mr. Bynum has worked with Philadelphia, Theater of Harlem, and New York Contemporary Dance Company, as well as several Broadway shows. Currently, Jeffrey is faculty at the Ailey School and is a teaching artist Alvin Ailey Arts and Education, New York City Ballet, ABT, and PAC Arts and Education Program. Welcome you, Mr. Bynum.
Thank you. How are you all doing?
We are fine.
That was a great introduction. I'm so impressed. Thank you. You hit the nail on the head, you know. And
what else Tina Thompson do?
Exactly.
Exactly. So I have you here. Me and Mr. Woodson have you here because as I guess on Beauty and the Studio, we would love for your input on today's crisis in the world, as well as racial civil wars, and the effect that it has for you as an artist in America.
Thank you very much. As Joseph was saying earlier, this week has been very, very tough for me, because of what has transpired. As an African-American man, let's just be real, as a Black man in America, my color should not be a death sentence. You know, can I say that again? As a Black man in America, my color should not be a death sentence. And I had a conversation with some colleagues of mine earlier this week who were not African-American, and I told them that this is nothing new for my life, and my experiences far different, way different from what you've experienced. And most of them responded with, we really had no idea. We just thought that, oh, why do you keep harping on color? Well, we have to. It's been this way for 500 years. Let's be real. You know, everything that we've done has been culturally appropriated. You know, we have been emulated, imitated, educated, and in the end, torn down because of our, as we say down south, comeuppance, you know, and it's hard, and it's very hard. Like Joseph said, when I started dancing, most of the times I was the only Black, quite often the only boy, you know, and so when you're in that environment, they just assume that your experiences are their experiences. Little do they know, you know, How many times have I walked into a room and no one knows me, but because I'm a person of color, brown, black, all of a sudden you have these views and opinions of me. And that's societal and that's inbred, you know, and let's be real, we're not born hating one another. That's a taught behavior, you know, and enough is enough. Enough is enough. As an artist, we still have to work twice as hard, you know. If the choreographer says, I want 4 pirouettes, we're gonna give you 8 until they say, okay, you can only do 4. That's good enough, you know. But we've been taught that, you know. Write this great paper for your English program, for your English class, and you're writing an A+ paper. You know that that paper in the 4th grade has to be almost on a collegiate level for it to be publicly published in some sort of article or some sort of curriculum or some sort of news-based journalistic type of program, you know. And it's hard, and it's hard. So when is enough, you know. And
speaking of enough being enough, Mr. Bynum, you as a man of color in the arts and expanding yourself as an entrepreneur in the art education scenario. What are some of the things you have experienced as a place of hardship? And a place where you that change needs to occur direly for women and men of color.
Starting at the top, starting with the opportunity to be the creator instead of being the person who does the teaching about what's being created. You know, we are the narrators of our own stories. And so we are blessed to go and teach in these wonderful communities where kids see reflections of them through us. But what are we given to teach them? You know, they don't give they don't give crap about Isadora Duncan. We do because we know we're artists, but let's teach them about a Russell Simmons, you know, a James Baldwin, a Joseph Woodson. How about that? You know, let's teach them about Miss Tina so they can know that, you know what, they come from where I come from, you know. My mom used to say to me every day when I left school, name 5 Black dancers before you walk out this door. And I would be like, Arthur Mitchell, Alvin Ailey, Catherine Dunham, Pearl Primus, Tally B. And my dad would be like, leave the boy alone. He knows what he wants to do. You know, let him go. Let him go to school. He's going to be okay, you know. But to get back to what you're saying, we need to be in the decision-making process. You know,
absolutely.
Like Joseph, we need to be in the decision-making process, okay? When I was blessed enough to teach some dance classes and create my own curriculum, these kids went on to other places where they had more advanced training, but the people who were teaching them were very impressed. Well, how did you know this? Well, how do you know about this? Well, because the teacher that I had told us and taught us. You know, like the teachers I had taught me, you know. I knew that there were Black dancers in the 1940s and the 1950s, despite what was being told to us, you know. Being at Jones and Hayward as a young kid, seeing these 2 Black women teach ballet to Black students, it was unheard of. It was unheard of. I get to New York, I go and take classes, and I would audition for School of American Ballet. I will never forget this at 17. And the teacher, I think it was Jock Soto, said, well, where did you train? And I said, the Jones and Hayward School of Dance. And he says, never heard of it. Where is it? I said, Washington, D.C. Oh, you're not one of Mary Day's kids? Mary Day, who was the director of the Washington Ballet at that time, told me as a 10-year-old, no, there's not room for you in the world of dance as a little black boy. Maybe you should play baseball. And my mom was like, well, what do you want to do? We can go somewhere else. Thank you very much. You know, so we need to be in the decision process of how we're going to pass this love of arts to the next generation, you know, but also keeping in mind that there's going to be continued racial hardships until the powers that be sit down and say, no, we can't treat people of color like this. We're not going to tell these crazy jokes just because it's all white people in here and we can just joke about those people. Somebody has to be an agent of change, you know, and until that happens.
Speaking of,
yes, Mr. Bynum, I agree with you.
I agree with you. And
add to that, I would just like to let you know that I have experienced many situations where my students did not know
Alvin Ailey or Isadora Duncan or Martha Graham or Arthur Mitchell.
Right.
Were and
studying with me every day and going through dance history lessons. They could know who our pioneers were.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand, and I said all the time, is that we do the groundwork. We do the work that the corporate does not see. Whether it be through camps, whether it be through independent companies, we are continuing the legacy on many different platforms that corporate America does not see. Especially in black dance, in fitness, sports, and politics. We offer a lot when we are on the ground doing the work. That is why every man cannot be discounted. As a color or minority. All of us are important. We do equal work.
Yep.
No matter what the title is in one place. I am relevant in a lot of other places. And the education we are giving our kids is given because we're there.
Yes.
We're doing the work. So to be discounted is setting our culture back.
Yep.
So we should be allowed to manage, create, and share.
Amen.
Yes. So, Mr. Woodson, can you add
Amen.
something? So, Mr. Woodson, can you add something to that?
So I agree with everything that Jeff said. I feel that decisions. We need to instill opportunity into our youth. That they are capable. And that they can do whatever they want. I feel that sometimes we are discouraged and not encouraged. And now it's time.
Yes, I agree. Mr. Bynum, we thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
Isn't he wonderful,
He was
Mr. Woodson?
absolutely wonderful. And what he said was so true. Like, a lot of kids are told, you can't be a dancer, you can't do ballet, why don't you do a sport? I mean, I've had that happen to me. Being a 6'3" African-American male, people automatically assume that I play basketball or that I went to college on an athletic scholarship. When I tell them that I am a dancer, I'm an artist, a lot of people look surprised and shocked. Like, basketball and sports is the only thing that African-American men can do in America in order to make a living. So it was so nice to hear his perspective.
Yes, it is. It's great that, and also as a fellow artist, just knowing that someone can be going through these things as you are and have no voice or feel as if their voice is not being heard for so many years or just being suffocated as we're speaking, not only literally, physically, and spiritually and artistically.
Yes.
So with that speaking, we have another guest, and I would love for you to introduce her.
Yes, we have Maria Liebana. She's going to be joining us. She is based in Queens. She is a multidisciplinarian artist and educator. She is Latinx. She will explain what Latinx means. Born of immigrant parents from Peru and Colombia, and is a board member of the nonprofit art space, Local Project Art Space in Long Island City. So we're so
wow.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hello.
Maria. How are
Hi,
you?
Maria.
Hi. Hello, Miss Tina. Hello, Joseph.
Okay, so for our viewers, can you explain to them what the term for our viewers, can you explain to them what the term Latinx means? Because a lot of us probably are not familiar with that term. And can you talk about your experience as a Latinx artist living in America?
Sure. Okay, so Latinx term has come up in recent years. It came about around the 90s for those who did not identify as male or female, because in Spanish you have genders, right? So we have la mesa or el carro. So there's genders. And so there were folks who did not relate to either male or female. And then in 2004, it started picking up again. And then in recent years, Latinx has become this word for those who choose. I choose to use Latinx because I want to include my LGBTQ people, because I want to be there for them, and it's out of respect for them. So for me, it's really important to say Latinx. It's used mostly in the US. It's not used outside of Latin America. It's in debate. Like lots of people are not for it, and then there's some for it. It gets a little complicated, but it's my stance to use Latinx. So it's like for me to stand up for that and for those who can be heard.
And can you talk about how you've experienced racism, being a Latinx person in America, being an artist? How has these events and everything affected you personally?
Everything that's happening now is just breaking my heart. It's a roller coaster ride each day, seeing the news, and I tend to consume everything. Like I go on Instagram, my Facebook. I even joined Citizen app. Like I need to know what's going on. It's like a lot of information, and my heart breaks for everyone. And I'm trying to do my part by donating and signing petitions and trying to do everything and try my best to go to the protest, but sometimes it's not possible to be there physically, but I am with them. My experience here, as you can see, I am a white passing Latina, Latinx person. And so I am able to move through spaces freely, right? But in New York City, I can do that. But there are times when I've been out of state, I have felt like the eye on me because I look different. I don't have Eurocentric features, right? In my hair, I have curly hair. I have very curly hair. So those are things that kind of like points me out, right? That I am other, but because of the color of my skin, it's light. I can still walk through these spaces. And I will acknowledge that my Afro-Latinos, Latinas, and Latinx, Afro, they suffer a lot in those spaces. They have to work twice as hard versus me. I worked hard, but they have to work twice as hard.
And it's because of the color of their skin.
Color of their skin, of course. Just what Jeffrey was talking about. Like I definitely I hear Jeffrey's hearing his story and hearing his experience. Like you have to work harder and do your best to do beyond the best to make it. And hearing his story, I also thought about my art experience, right? So I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. It's predominantly Latinx and Black. And so I went to parochial school. My parents sent me there. And it's interesting, like the resources, right? Like, so my art experience growing up wasn't that great. It's like outside of school that I gained it. Like there was some art classes, but then I went to art school and there I felt like the other. And I didn't have the resources they had. So I had to figure things out. So I had to I don't know what this is. I got to figure it out because everyone else knows. So everyone's ahead of me because I didn't get those resources that weren't provided for me to survive. I made it. I had to work hard to get there. It's just, yeah.
It's not fair at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you feel less than, like you
Yes.
constantly have to prove yourself to feel like you're on an equal playing field.
Absolutely. And then also keep your opinions to yourself, not say anything. I can really keep your head down. Like my mom's like concerned, like, why are you saying all this stuff? I'm like, I have to. I can't just stand back and not say anything. Now is the time to say something, make that change. Like I cannot, my heart says, do something, say something. I just have to be there and say something and fight. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So you were talking about protesting. I hope that if you are planning on protesting, you have a mask on, right?
Of course, absolutely. Very important during these times. Yes. It's just everything happened at the same time. It's just like kind of like mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So crazy.
Well,
Wow.
I want to ask you a question, Maria.
Sure, Miss Tina.
Speaking of Afro-Latina descent, and you are beautiful at that. And me seeing you walk into a room, and my sister is very fierce as yourself. So I have a family that's like a mixture of Black and Afro-Latinos as well. But seeing your complexion and just looking at you, I would know that you are a minority. Yeah. Me personally, I would know. You would say there's something in there that's mixed.
Yes, absolutely. My grandmother, yes.
But for me as a whole, I would view you in the workplace or someone that was on a project with myself or at a certain event. I would say she's a woman of minority, such as myself. Yeah. She is someone that I know that at the end of the day, she has experienced some type of racism. Because at the end of the day, no matter how high and light the hue, we are all on this boat together.
Yes.
So I just looking at you and just seeing, sometimes you can actually see the struggle. You can actually see the story in a person just through you knowing the struggle in yourself and from your people. And that's what I'm saying. We need to pay attention to our people more. And a lot of times we're so focusing on, like I said earlier, before we bring in our special guest, is that we're so busy pulling each other down like crabs in a barrel, because I believe it's stemming from the Jim Crow and the era of slavery, early slavery, when you had the lighter skinned slaves in the house, and then you had the darker hue, the more brown hue right outside, maybe manning the garden or maybe making the clothes for the master's wife or running errands. And then you had the darker slaves deep within the fields, manning the cotton and picking the cotton. You understand, because you know history. So what happens is a lot of that mental damage we've kept breeding it throughout the decades and throughout the generations. Is that we keep giving each other this baggage. Is that, okay, Tina's lighter than me or Maria's lighter than me, so therefore, wait, I'm gonna have to step on Tina's toes in order for me to get further, because I don't want her to get ahead of me. And a lot of times it's not just the hue. It's just who our circle, the circles that we are around. It's so important that they feed our minds with self-development, economic growth, political advancement, justice, diversity. It's so important that we don't stifle each other. If I could scream that, and if I could send it through a Zoom 1,000 times, I say this all the time. We cannot stifle each other. Maria, could you hold for us for a few seconds?
Sure.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes. That being said, Maria is such a wonderful, wonderful person. But I want to expand this discussion, Mr. Woodson, because we have a special guest.
I'm excited.
Our guest, yes. His name is the only Obadiah Wright, as I give him this introduction. Yes.
Hey.
Hello, Baba.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Listen, I'm on the computer. I had the phone. I was like, I can't hear. How are you?
Good.
Hello, Baba.
Mwah.
Yes, introducing Baba.
Yeah.
I want to give you a background of Baba, Obadiah Wright. He currently lives in Brooklyn, and he maintains a relationship with many people, family, friends, associates, and neighbors as an activist for arts in the community. He is the artistic director of the Balance Dance Theater for over 14 years, director and choreographer. creative director of musical theater commercials, and he also has been a host choreographer on The Chew for ABC TV. Guest choreographer featuring Chef Carla Hall. He also is a choreographer for Black Nativity movie version starring Angela Bassett, Jennifer Hudson, and Forrest Whitaker. He's a professional singer, and he has also incurred Ain't Misbehaving as a major role at the Crossroads Theater Company from August 2016 through December 2016, where he currently serves as an associate creative director for the Nativity stage version of Fox Searchlight Pictures. We welcome you, Obadiah Wright.
Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Some of the resume stuff you got a little twisted around, but we'll leave it that way for now. How are you guys? How are you? You guys look great.
You look great. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
A long time.
How are you doing in the climate? Like, how have you been dealing with the news?
I've been really good. I've been very quiet. I've been doing a lot of self-nurturing. And like one of the other things that I do is Young Men's Rites of Passage. So I have been just checking on my godsons to make sure that they're okay culturally and spiritually, and giving them some additional information as to what's going on, so I'm being a good godparent, just making sure that they have not just what's going on now politically and culturally and the disrespect that's going on, but they need to know a little bit more of the history that happened 20, 30, 40 years ahead of them. And in addition to what happened beyond that, because I always tell them that in order to make history, you got to know just a little bit. So, but other than that, all is well.
Yes, Mr. Wright, we would like to know what your inflections and your thoughts are on the racial civil rights war that we're going through, and your depictions as far as an artist of pioneership and the things you have experienced, what you've seen, and how you think we are going forward as artists first and humans second.
It's very interesting because I personally have never really interfaced with racial issues in the workplace, luckily. But I see it and I know it, and the reason why I avoid it is because I stayed in the Black lane. I didn't really audition for a lot of stuff where they were only going to hire one male dancer. So I worked around it. I worked out the country a lot. So, but I see it and I saw it. And the same kind of picketing that we are doing now, we need to do that for Broadway shows. We need to do that for feature films. We need to do that to get more for arts organizations of color. We need to do the same things now for arts that's going on culturally in the world. We need to picket and we need to protest that because there are not enough jobs for us. They have us in color categories, light hue to dark hue, as we spoke about before. And they're only going to hire one of us if it's a non-African American show. And this is across opera, the musical theater, the ballet companies, the concert dance world. It's all the way across the board. So the only way for us to circumvent that is to be the pioneer and be the leader and build your own, which we've all done in terms of our own ancestry. We were always engineers. We figured out how to escape. We figured out how to play drums to talk to the other slaves on the plantation. We figured out how to get through the swamp to get north. We looked at stars. So we constantly were in a state of recreating to survive, but we need help to survive. We need more shows that show our. We need more projects and products that emulate us and for us. And in terms of art, we're still the lowest man on the totem pole. They've let us in terms of athletics. Mm-hmm. They've let us in terms of the music industry. They let one or two of us in terms of opera. Unless they're doing opera singers, unless they're doing Porgy and Bess, how many Black opera singers are working?
That's true.
You know, so we have to start producing and owning projects, writing projects, and getting funding and getting some people to produce them so that they can tour globally, so that people can see who we are and what we know how to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, Baba. And you know, my thing is this: is that I agree with what you said in a major factor, a percentage of what you said. But there is a percentage that I have to argue is that being a woman of a certain complexion and going, and yes, you understand your children, is that being a woman of a certain complexion, I find that as I've been looking at my past and I proceed to my future from my ancestors, I see, wow, me and you have something in common. And as you said, you know, I did pretty much as a thorough research analyst. I do as much as I can for this show and researching it. And I, you know, I wanted to make sure. So some of the things that I didn't get right, my apologies, but I got pretty much as accurate as I could. But on that, I know one thing that we do have in common is that we went to Juilliard. And where I'm going with that is, yes, this is where I'm going to go. And I'm going to sit on the bus and I'm going to read a newspaper with it. Is that a certain woman, as a woman of a certain color, I've noticed the demographics and I've noticed the shade. And I'm like, wow, I started looking at it. Yes.
That's an eclipse. That's total dark.
Absolutely. And I'm like, wow, Tina, your shade is the acceptable shade that has gone to Miss Fitness. It has gone to Juilliard. It has gone to the top world competitions. Meaning, watch this. There's darker shades now going. But this is, I noticed, wow, don't feel like, oh, I'm the only one. Oh. No, you, no matter what color, you are a token, Tina. You are a token. So what I'm saying, and I was just thinking about what you were, you know, to elaborate on what you're saying, is that I haven't experienced the outright racism in some of these places like you, because I've traveled internationally. Yes. But when I got back when my husband was backstage one time and I was competing in Romania and Russia, he said that they said, your wife is good, but Romania is better. And they looked at him and they just like kind of like surrounded him with an air of my country. And I was the only Black one backstage. And I competed internationally several times. So what I'm saying is that they paid for everything. I was there. I was out, you know, as we have those accolades, Baba, we've gone to the top places. We've been, your resume is astounding. You've been hand chosen many times because of your astounding gifts and your talents. But it really comes down to you are a very unique person. And also the color of your skin and your manner is not, it's something that they're comfortable with. And a lot of times when I did voice my opinion, that's when they're like, uh-oh, that Black side's coming out. You know, no, we're going to listen. We are in a very important time before I let you go, Mr. Wright, is that because I need a little bit more elaboration, what you want to tell our future generations as a pioneer and a father of dance, is that I understand that our people have a lot of work to do, even with the civil rights movement. We have a lot of work to do within our own community. Is that earlier we were saying with Mr. Bynum and Ma'am Maria, is that we are so busy fighting each other and not supporting each other, and we're pulling each other down. If that we could just say, hey, did you know that was the 10th person of that color, of the 10th woman or the 12th woman that looked like that went to Juilliard before all of these people got in? Hey, did you know she was the 3rd Miss Fitness and she was the 1st Black Miss Fitness? Hey, did you know Baba traveled all over the world? He was one of the first Afro-American men directors in, you know, New York City. Like it's a very few amount of Afro-American men leading dance companies. Yeah. And as myself, a woman of color, me and Tasha, you know, Miss Natasha, we counted, Mr. Woodson, how many women of color run dance companies, and we don't support each other. We look straight past them. Oh, they're doing another project. No, they're part of history, whether you realize it or not. Some of these people are 50 and 60, and God bless them. But guess what? They will get older. We will carry their legacy on, but then it's my turn. So I'm in my 40s, but then I'm going to be 50 and I'm going to be 60 and 70 or whatever. And we have to continue this legacy of our ancestors. And that's why we need you as one of our pioneers to we need to support people like yourself and myself. We need to step up and let you light the light for us because you have so much knowledge.
Thank you. We all need to sit down and figure out how to heal from this. This has been like the can of worms now is out and crawling about because everything that was hidden and sealed that wanted to pop out could not. So this has taken the lid off of everything. Spiritually, we're in a time where like the tower is falling. So everything now has to be recalibrated. So this is the opportunity. If we're using it, if we're using our head, we're using our spirit, this is the time where we can recalibrate and rebuild and put ourselves back together so that we are a formidable, unified cultural force. For, you know, a lot of times I've been in situations where if they don't know me, people react to you, and these are our people. People react to you as if like, they give you this, and then when they flip, oh, and of course I'm going to be warm because you have to be and you're supposed to be.
Yes.
But I'm like, what? Why was that? And what was that? You know, sometimes it's not their fault. It's the inbreeding of that. It's still in our DNA to behave in that manner. So we have to, now we can come to the table, hopefully, and we can begin to fix some of that, and we can begin to open doors for one another now, because now it's clear that nobody's opening doors for us. We gotta open our own doors. Nobody's really opening doors for us, especially the artists. Like when I said athletes, multi-million-dollar contracts, endorsements, everything. How many of us get that? How many of us get that far? How many of us are supported like that? And those are the things that if you have a level of support, you owe it to other people who are needing to get there and who have information to share it. Let us not hoard anymore. It's not healthy for everybody else, and it's not healthy for us. Because what you don't want to do is, as you get older and you make your transition and move into the ancestral realm, you don't want to leave here. You don't want to make your transition full of information that somebody else could have used or should have used. You want to leave here as an empty vessel, knowing that you came here to do all of your work as an artist, so that your cup is completely empty, so you fulfilled your total destiny, giving everybody the information that they were supposed to get. And when you do that, that's when you begin to reap the blessings while you're here. But we're not taught how to do that. We're taught to fight, we're taught to hold. There's the color thing. And for women, it's even harder than men, you know, because they will accept us pretty much at any complexion to a point, depending on what the project is. But for women, it's much more competitive. It's almost dangerous emotionally for Black women as an artist. It's so much more because it can be, if you don't come from or find a place of support, it can damage you for a very long time. And I see it, you know, and we have to as teachers now, you know, like any of my little dark-skinned students, I always go over to my little dark-skinned girls and I'm like, you are so beautiful. That's one of the first things I tell them. You know, you are so beautiful. And all my young ladies, I'm like, I said, young ladies, I said, you were queens. I said, how are my queens today?
Yes.
Does this. When I get to the guys, and then I work with special needs children sometimes. So I sit down, I teach them how to meditate. I get them to calm down so that they can hear. An artist is one of the most unusual things in the world, because we are the bridge for the whole world, because music and dance saves everything. Music and dance is universal. Everything. From the beginning to the end. So we who are blessed with that walk need to be taken care of. We have to do a lot of self-care because we give out a lot. We give out a lot and we don't get back a lot. So we have to mind ourselves, and then we have to be in a place where we can support and love each other. That's what, whenever you call me, I'm like, what you need? You just have to be that way. You just have to be that way.
That is so beautifully said. Mr. Woodson, do you have a question for Mr. Wright?
I agree with everything you said. It's so good to hear your voice, to hear your wisdom. I do think that we do need to do for ourselves and support one another, but I also think that other people need to also give us an opportunity. I mean, how do we get into the Broadway scene? Like, what if we want to get into that theater or get onto that television network? There are other people that are in higher positions that make those final decisions. So I feel like they let us go up to a certain point, but then we don't get past that point unless we just do our own thing that's considered the other on the side.
Exactly. And you sitting at some of those tables, at those castings, and you can look and see what casting directors say, what producers say. Some of the things that they whisper in my ear are really not nice. And one day I'm going to write a book about every person that says something derogatory about somebody.
Yes.
I'm looking right at them.
Excuse me, Baba. Yes, Baba, that's my point. That's my point.
And finally had to turn around and go, you need to not do that.
Yeah.
You need to not do that.
You have to check them.
That's it. That's my point.
Because I had to go to Brooklyn. You know, I kept it professional, but it's just like, that's not, you need to not do that.
Right. And like I said, you have been, you're right. You've been the privilege. Like I said with myself. Okay, so a lot of us, what happens, Baba, before, because I don't want to keep you too long, because I know you are busy like myself, and I'm so honored to have you here. But you know how much I adore you. And this is the thing, is that a lot of us who have the privilege, Baba, I feel we need to unite after this and not just supporting each other's projects. What happens is we have the privilege, so we go, I've said this many times, I got mine, now you get yours. And a lot of times that happens on so many levels. You have people that they get certain titles, and when they don't have certain titles, they're all for the community activist level, and they're all for supporting you. And as soon as they get into that corporate shell, it's when they freeze up. And I've been told by a colleague of mine, because my work is very visceral, it's very in your face, and I've been interchanging different types of bodies, all types of body types, races, backgrounds, technique, no technique. I've been putting those groups of people together for decades, and I've always been fearless that way, because like you said, we're in the same group of, you got to tell that dark-skinned Black girl she's beautiful in the hood. You got to tell that person who doesn't have the privilege that you have that she can do it. And so what happens is we start judging each other, like how you have the program when you go into restoration and you teach those babies. It's like, and I do it in Staten Island, and Joseph does it in Manhattan. We do so many things for the kids. And what happens is we get to this plateau, we go, I don't want to do stuff like that, because I'm here now. So it makes me look small if I mess with this company or if I mess with these people. And quiet as kept, those are the people that watered you and nourished you. Those are the people that inspired you when you didn't have nobody backing you up. And what happens is our head inflates and we forget the mountain. That is why I honor you. It's because you're one of the people that watch this. I must honor Joseph. I must honor Bynum. I must honor Maria, because these are the people that support you. You can never get so big that you start dropping the people that once watered you. And our ancestors and our spiritual fathers like you and our mentors. I want us to have more dialogue like this, not just on podcasts. I want more dialogue like this in the studio. I want more dialogue like this over a cup of coffee. Hey, I've never met you, Miss Thompson. Can we have coffee? Because see, what you're doing is you're looking at that Josephine Cotton picture and you getting it twisted, because I know some stuff, because I've been doing this for over 2.5 decades. So basically, it doesn't go past me that you work for such and such. That doesn't bother me, because I've been at the top places in the top institutions. So I'm not intimidated. I need somebody who's visceral. I need somebody who's raw, that says, listen, I'm a sister, you a sister. I'm a brother. Mr. Woodson's a brother. I love what you're doing. Let's get down together. Let's make it work. How about you share my company stage? I share your company stage. I've invited so many people on my company stage, and I save every program. It's not only archival, it's for history and its purposes of how I shared, of how I gave back. Because people like you, Greg, my ancestors, they gave me the opportunity to study dance in a community center and made me able to get a scholarship at Alvin Ailey and then go to Dance Theater of Harlem and then go to Juilliard. If I didn't go to that center on Pitkin Avenue and continue my training with people who believed in me, who knows what I would have been today?
Exactly.
Our community needs to not, besides us going through this George Floyd trauma, we need to know the traumas we have in our own artistic community. There's a lot of trauma in our artistic community, and I'm not going to get on a social media platform and start screaming out people's names and what they did to me and how they did it to me. Listen, my best way of getting over you is forgetting about you and getting ahead. My best way is achieving. So me going back, that's not a Tina Thompson. Going forward is Tina Thompson. I'm going to show you that I'm going to succeed. And the things that you did to me, it only made me stronger. So that's what my ancestors taught me. So I just want you to have a final word before I let you go, Baba, on what you want to tell our future generations.
Something for
Maria, I see you. We're coming.
Do you remember giving this to me?
What is that, Baba?
This is my legacy award.
Oh my God! Oh, you don't do that on the podcast. You're gonna make me cry.
So as you see, I have some awards, proclamations, records. So this whole section is awards that I was given. So I thank you again for this. I remember this because you had on some pumps backstage, and I had to fasten them up because you couldn't bend over. And I was down. He said, wait a minute. So you called me on stage to give me this. I want to thank you for this again. It's here with everything else I have here that I've been blessed to have. I'm trying to move back so you can see some of them. But
you know what? On an ended note, Baba, because I'm not going to say before we let you go, because we're not never letting you go. But listen, I want to say to you is that you are precious to me, and you are precious to Skin, and you are precious to this dance community.
Yes.
Thank you.
And for you, let me tell you, if anyone that does not honor you, doing a dishonor to themselves, and I mean that, and I say that in my situation too. People who I'm so much of who I am because of having mentors and people that I've danced with like yourself. I've come across great people. I've come across some great dancers, and we've had shoes thrown at us. So I don't know, but we've had shoes thrown at us, and the things that I can't even recollect half of the things that were said to me, because guess what? I couldn't, because I know that whatever they said, it made me better. So for me to think about what they said to me and how it hurt me, guess what? Leaves under the bridge, because my ancestors, they were fierce, they were strong, they were powerful, and they left me the continuation through people like you. We honor you and we thank you, Obadiah
We
Wright.
love you. We love you.
And, thank you so much.
Dancers,
yes.
Watch. Stay spiritual, stay connected to art, stay connected to, say something with what you're doing. Say something, tell a story. Life is a story. Watch the storytellers. Watch the storytellers that came before you. It's not always about tricks. I love tricks.
And listen, I'm sorry, we got tricks.
Well, we got stories. Tell stories.
Tell the story.
Yeah. Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Oh, Mr. Woodson, I get overwhelmed. Say something.
So great to see him, to hear him. He's right. We need to take care of ourselves as artists. We give so much, and it's all about us supporting each other, watering each other, paying attention to what our ancestors have done, looking back at history so that we don't repeat the same mistakes that have been done in the past, and just acknowledging each other. It's so important. It's so important to have people like Maria. It's so important to have this platform to discuss everything that we are discussing. So Maria, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. I'm inspired, and I'm doing my part as to listen and learn. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have any follow-up thoughts that you would like to share with our viewers? Anything at all? Anything that's on your heart and mind?
Be willing to learn and be uncomfortable to move forward.
Love that.
Yeah, because I'm going through that right now.
Yes. But listen, before I let you go, Maria, we end this broadcast of Beauty in the Spirit. I knew we would go over an hour today. And what I'm going to do is we're going to post it on a whole bunch of platforms later, because trust me, the children will be viewing this. Trust me. The children will duck and dive and dive and duck, but the kids will be seeing this. I wanted to ask you this as a beautiful Latina. What part of your culture, when you walk into a room without saying anything, because this is important, I could see you through here because I know movement. Even through the podcast, Mr. Woodson,
yes,
I
you
can
can.
feel movement. I'm so ready to move. I can't wait to get out of town. Listen. Okay, let me say focus. When you feel in your soul, because of course you mix, I get all of that, blah. But what are you when the first thing comes to mind? What is the first thing that you feel? What are you? What is your heritage? What do you automatically say?
I'm an artist. I'm an artist. Like, do you mean like artist, Latinx? I am human being. Yes, I'm a woman with so much in me. So much. Yes.
Wow, that's powerful. So we thank you for today, Maria, and we thank you, and we pay homage to our Latina sisters and brothers as well.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Stay safe. Mr. Woodson.
Mrs. Tina, we have done it again. It is a wonderful, wonderful time always with you and with all the knowledge and all the...
Baba wants to come back in. This is dramatic.
No, I just want to clarify something. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
No.
Go ahead, Papa.
I just want to clarify for you. I left you a note. The choreographer of the movie Black Nativity was Otis Salih.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, Otis Salih, he will get all the credit.
I just want to mention now. I was
guess what?
Creative director for Black Nativity at
Otis Salih will say it. Listen, that's a Sagittarius thing. We don't get no credit for nothing we didn't do. And guess what? We will tell you that we didn't do it. Okay? Right. Because guess what? We have many gifts and we are not scared. Shout out to Otis Salih. So anyway, Mr. Woodson, you see that? See, that's how you do things. You give credit where it's due. Yes. So I wanted to say to you, I thank you so much for being my co-host on this wonderful podcast called Beauty in the Spirit.
And talking about inclusion and artistry, it's so important that we just continue to uplift each other and tell those little brown and Black boys and girls that they are something. They can do whatever they would like to do, that they have it in them to be whoever they would like to be in the future. So it's really important that we start at a young age, instilling that sense of pride and confidence and belief that you can make it out of your situation.
Yes. So, Mr. Woodson, every week you ask me about what I'm doing for my beauty.
Okay, Miss Tina, what are you doing for your beauty this week? Please tell me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you yours after this. Well, let me tell you what my product of the week is. It is Pond's Flawless White. Yes, honey, and I don't mean white. I mean flawless. Meaning it gets rid of those black heads and all of those rubber bumps that might want to creep up. So it's Palms Flawless White. I've been using it. Like I told you, my Borghese is, I'm very cheap with my Borghese products because she don't play. She goes on during performances and she goes on during certain outings. Okay. And since we haven't been out, I said, okay, I could do a dab of her like I did last week, but Miss Pons will be working in my life for the next week.
Yes.
How about you?
You know, I have something that you can take. I used to eat something called bitter gourds, which is extremely bitter, but they made a juice out of it, and it's called Corella juice. I don't know if you all can see that.
Oh, okay. We hold it up, Corella.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So I try to take it in the mornings, or maybe I'll mix a little bit with it with them smoothie, and it's just good for vitamin C, blood sugar, all of that stuff. So that's something that I like to take internally.
Yes, and I'm living for this. What is this pandering leopard top? What is this? A mosaic of leopard drama?
Something that I pulled out the closet. I was like, what am I going to wear this week? You know, that's the thing. Like, what to wear? Like, we're at home. We're not really going out as much, so I figured I would wear this. And I love your choker and the glitter, the shimmer.
She has her own life. Listen, let me tell you something. A doll can play in the closet for hours if necessary. Okay, listen. The doll is getting ready for the shows, okay? Once God and the earth lets us heal, I am out and about. I have it all planned in his divine order, honey. So what I've been allowed to do, like I told you, is I have been setting stuff and pulling stuff from the closets and organizing her. And guess what? Like I told you in the last episode, if you feel like you want to put something on to feel good about yourself, or if you want to reorganize, I done changed pictures so many times in different rooms that it's just appealing to my eyes. If I wanted to be someplace else, I'm like, I need to see that picture over there. If I want to see my sorority picture, I said, oh, that's been hiding in the corner, I'm gonna pull it out. So and like Baba had his awards earlier. Let me tell you, sometimes people don't have their awards for their ego. For me, a person has their awards like Baba out, because my awards remind me of the things I've achieved. And when you have things around you that you've achieved, let me tell you this, it works for me. It holds you to a higher standard. When I walk past my Miss Fitness awards and my academic awards or my arts awards, it doesn't blow my head up. What it does for me, it says, Tina, you must aim higher. You must do more for your culture. You must achieve more. So what happens is when you have greatness surrounding you, you cannot help but be great. You cannot help but be great. And I love that. So some people don't realize, as artists, we need validation coming forward. We need validation. We need people to say, hey, can I help you with this project? Hey, you need support with this project, because that's what's going to really give us the archival future and carve the destiny to our upcoming generations. So on that being said, I'm Tina Thompson.
And I am Joseph. And thank you for joining us, Beauty in the Spirit. See you guys soon.
Okay. Get it, bro. Oh, that's a contraction. Oh. 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 See you soon.